Go. World History Quiz, 15 questions, beginning now. Okay, first question. In 2007, the city of Krakow in Poland bought out an enamel factory to set up a historical museum. Who once owned this factory? In 2007, the city of Krakow in Poland bought an enamel factory to set up a historical museum. They actually set up 2 museums in this factory. A lot of you got that one correctly. Oskar Schindler it is. If any of you have seen the Steven Spielberg movie Schindler's List, you would know that Schindler was a member of the Nazi party, but he ended up saving a lot of Jews' life by actually employing them in his enamel and ammunition factory. So it's that factory that the city of Krakow bought out because there was a lot of interest in tourists wanting to come in there. So yeah, that was the first question. Schindler from the Schindler's List. Popularity is the answer I was looking for. Quick look at early leaders. Vital statistics, you're leading. Eric Hill, Anup, good to see you up there. QQA, Param and Arjun Suni are all in the top 5 at early times. So I'm going to get going into question 2. Okay, in 122 AD, the Roman Emperor Hadrian built a defensive wall along the entire width of which modern day country? In 12, this is the photo that you can see is of the wall. In 122 AD, the Roman Emperor Hadrian built a defensive wall along the entire width of which modern day country? Is it Lebanon, England, Tunisia, or Scotland? Only a few of you got that one. Hadrian's Wall is in modern day England entirely and not in Scotland. Scotland, there's another wall altogether. And obviously, back in the days, the Roman Empire did extend all the way into modern day Great Britain as well. Hadrian's Wall is today, again, a site that a lot of tourists go to. So only a few of you got that one. England is the answer that I was looking for. Indeed, it was supposed to stop the Gaelic tribes. That's why the Roman Emperor built. Thanks for that little tidbit there, Quest. Let's see who the movers are. NK, you're in the lead now, followed by Sriram. Blue Crab, you're back. Bahai, winner of one of the quizzes in the last few days. And AKD is also up here. But Aki, you've climbed up 38 places. So that was question 2. Let's move on to the next question on your screen. On the 6th of August, it was Enola Gay. What was it on the 9th of August? So I'm obviously talking about something which you have to figure out. The 6th of August, it was Enola Gay. And on the 9th of August, what was it? Only a few of you got that one. A lot of you, as I suspected, went for Little Boy. So anyone wants to put out the funder for this? What was happening on 6th of August and 9th of August in this particular question? On the chat. Indeed, it is the atomic bombs that were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Enola Gay is indeed the plane that flew on the 6th of August. And on the 9th of August, it was the Bockscar that flew. However, Little Boy and Fat Man are the names of the bombs that were dropped, not the names of the planes that flew them. The names of the plane were Enola Gay and Bockscar, named after the pilot who flew it, whose name was Bock. So yeah, a little bit of a trick question there. Little Boy would have been the answer if I had said Fat Man, but I said Enola Gay, so the answer is supposed to be Bockscar, the second plane that flew along Hiroshima and Nagasaki. All right, this is in August 1945, of course. Scores. Sri Ram has made a move up. NK closely following. N is in there, and A is in there, and Blue Crab is in there. Quite interesting names out there. Everyone's putting alphabetical names now, but some changes in the leaderboard. Bockscar, apparently. Thanks, Avinash. All right, next question coming up on your screen. Between April and July of 1994, 800,000 were brutally murdered by ethnic Hutu extremists. Where did this take place? Between April and July 1994, 800,000 were brutally murdered. This is a matter of 100 days by Hutu extremists. Where did this happen? Many of you got that one pretty good. Rwanda is the answer. I guess like a lot of you must have seen the movie as well, Hotel Rwanda. This is the Rwandan genocide. And Sudhir Chaudhary and Arnab Goswami should read Rwandan history as a comment out there. They should definitely. This is the Rwandan genocide. Obviously, the Hutu extremists killed a lot of the Tutsis. These are the two big tribes, exactly, Hutu and the Tutsis. Which happened in Rwanda. Hotel Demi-Colline is the hotel in Rwanda that actually ended up saving a lot of lives during this genocide, which is what the Oscar-winning movie Hotel Rwanda is based on. So Rwanda is the answer I was looking for, and a lot of you did get that one correctly. Sri Ram still maintains the lead, but some changes in the rest of the positions. All right, yes, John Cheadle definitely deserved an Oscar for that. All right, next question, question 5, coming up. So this movie, whose poster you will see soon, is based on the true story of a journalist who published a set of documents which revealed the secrets of US in Vietnam. The movie, as you can see, is called The Post. It had Meryl Streep and Tom Hanks in it. You couldn't ask for a better cast than that for any movie. What were these documents called? The one that revealed the secrets of US involvement in Vietnam. Again, a lot of you got this one. Pentagon Papers is the answer I was looking for. It is the name of the document that was published on the New York Times by this journalist. Manhattan Project, the name that you see there. Does anyone know what the Manhattan Project was about? On the group chat. Indeed, that's where all the research planning and everything for the nuclear program of America happened, and this is where kind of the origin of the atomic bombing is in some way was a Manhattan Project. So that's the Manhattan Project that was the other option out there, which was the second popular answer very clearly. But a lot of you did get Pentagon Papers right. Scores very quick. All right, some new names out there. TJ, a regular here again. Sam and Param are also in the top 5. All right, we have 1/3 into the quiz. Next question, number 6, coming up. All right, yeah. Earliest non-fossil of humankind is called Lucy and was found in Ethiopia. This was named after a hit song by which artist? The earliest known fossil of humankind, Lucy, is found in Ethiopia and named after a hit song by which artist? Many of you got that one. The Beatles, it is. Quest has already answered the sub-question I was going to ask. The name of the song, it is indeed Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, a very, very big hit of the Beatles, and later was also covered by Elton John, in fact. Yeah, the song was being played the night that David Johansen was a guy who Donald Johansen, in fact, he was around the campfire, the song was playing, and that's how he ended up giving the name Lucy to the earliest known human ancestor. Does anyone know who is the only world leader to have ever had a chance to touch Lucy? I mean, at least the fossils of Lucy. Not Pope, the Queen, no, not Moody. It's actually Barack Obama. Barack Obama, during his visit to Ethiopia, was Indeed Arjun was offered the chance to actually touch it. So that's the only known instance of anyone apart from the archaeologists who worked on this, who had the chance of actually meeting or actually touching Lucy. But you obviously can see it in the historical museum in Addis Ababa. All right, the Beatles is the answer I was looking for. A lot of you got that one. So not much movement, except Sam is now ahead of TJ. And 13 of you have an answer streak of 3. So after all, not that tough a quiz as a lot of you were thinking it will be. All right, next question, question 7. During his third voyage to India in 1524, Vasco da Gama passed away through malaria and was buried in which Indian city? This was his third voyage to India when he passed away. His remains were later transferred to Belém near Lisbon in Portugal. Only a few of you got this one. Cochin. In fact, Fort Cochin is where you will see it in a small church in Fort Cochin. If you go opposite the Cochin Club is a church, and that's where you would find his remains, or at least where his remains used to be. But you can see his tomb still there. His remains have been transferred to Lisbon. Why did a lot of you go for Calicut? What happened in Calicut? Why is Calicut an important place in the history of the world itself, with respect to voyages in Vasco da Gama? Paragon biryani, it seems. Indeed, Arul, that's where he landed. So Vasco da Gama, one of the first voyagers to have ever come to the Indian shores in search of spice, of course, landed up in the shores of Calicut in Kerala. This is an interesting Indian history or world history, so to say, because eventually, if you look at it, most of the battles in the world, or most of battles, at least in Africa, happened because of the need for spice, or the craving for spice, which all began with Vasco da Gama's arrival in India in 1498. But this was his third visit. Okay, let's take a look at scores. Sriram, Sam, Paraman, and Sohu was the new person into the top 5, but Sriram's maintaining a good lead out there, ahead of the rest of the curve, but not by one question, I think, only just about by speed. Any newcomers here, also remember that Kahoot scores you not just for accuracy, but also for how fast you get to your answer. Almost halfway into the quiz. Next question, question 8. Yeah. You'll see a picture here. Who is depicted in the statue in Vati, the capital of the Greek island of Ithaca? The statue that you see here is of whom? It's in the Greek island of Ithaca. Many of you got that one. Odysseus it is. Odysseus is obviously the key character in the epic called Odyssey. Does anyone know who wrote Odyssey? I'm sure a lot of you do. Who wrote the Odyssey? Homer, yeah, not the Simpson one, just the Homer. Shamantan Avinash, funny. And the Greek island of Ithaca obviously is a huge part of that story. An interesting thing that happened is it took Odyssey about 10 years to get back. Get back from where? Where was Odyssey before he got back to Ithaca? Where was most of the Odyssey written? Or even the Iliad. Iliad is also written mostly around this particular incident. Indeed, it is the Trojan War or Troy. A lot of you would know the Trojan horse tidbit. That's where all of them had gone, including Achilles, Agamemnon, and Patroclus. But Odysseus returned. And when he returned, he realized that he actually did not declare to anyone that he's Odysseus. He did not tell anybody else that he's Odysseus, and lived like a peasant, and looked at everyone, their lives, and all of that before he was finally back with his partner. Is the story. Agamemnon, unfortunately, had a bad death after coming back from Troy. Achilles, as you all know, was killed by Paris after being shot in the foot, which is why we call it Achilles' heel. All right. Let's take a look at the scores. Some movements and some new names in there. Nimbahulli and SHR2 are also into the top 5. I think fair to say this is the first of the 5 quizzes that we've had where there's been so many changes in the top 5 and new names constantly popping in, except I would say Sriram, Sam, and N, who've been in and around that top 5. Next question, question 9. Which of these ancient scripts have not been translated to this day? Is it the Egyptian hieroglyphs? Is it the Sumerian cuneiform? Is it the Germanic runes? Or is it the Indus script? Which of these ancient scripts have not been translated to this day or been figured out to this day? Many of you got that one. It is indeed the Indus script. Indus script has unfortunately not been figured out. Some characters have been, but mostly the script remains undeciphered. And to the uninitiated, the Indus obviously is referring to the Indus Valley civilization across the Indian subcontinent in the north of India, along what is called the Saraswati Valley, the river that has gone dry today. That's ICSE and CBSE students can absolutely rejoice. Indeed. All right, next question, but quickly with the scores. Sriram, you're in the lead still, but SHR2, you're making a climb up. Sam, you're in third. NK, you're still there. And Baha, you've made a comeback into the top 5. And El Nino, you're the highest climber, so you're somewhere along the heels of these top 5. Okay, next question, number 10. This 1963 Pulitzer Prize winning photograph shows a Buddhist monk self-immolating as a protest in which city? John F. Kennedy actually said about this photograph that no world moment has actually had a bigger emotional impact than this particular one ever, as long as he was alive, of course. Unfortunately, Calcutta is not an option. A lot of you got this one right. It is Ho Chi Minh City, or back in the days, what was known as Saigon, is where this happened. This is Tinh Quoc Duc, who was protesting the southern Vietnamese government and their atrocities against the Buddhists, and the burning down of a lot of Buddhist pagodas that happened along this time in Vietnam. And he actually self-immolated and passed away. In this place today, you will find a monument dedicated to him in the city of Saigon. It's literally a big traffic signal today. So Ho Chi Minh City or Saigon is the answer that I was looking for. Scores. Sriram, you're still in the lead. So is SHR2 closely behind you. But NK, Sam, and Bahai have had some changes amongst each other. Okay, we're ready to go on into the next question, number 11. Which automotive pioneer in this list was once a chauffeur of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, whose assassination actually started the First World War? Was it Gottlieb Daimler? Was it Karl Benz? Was it André Citroën? Or was it Ferdinand Porsche? Who was the chauffeur to Archduke Franz Ferdinand, whose assassination in the city of Sarajevo started World War I? A lot of you went for a lot of different answers, but not the majority who got Porsche. No reason for you to know this fact, but just the fact that this actually started the World War, and he was indeed in his car chauffeured not by Porsche at that time, but by somebody else when he was assassinated, which actually led to the First World War. Great. Next question, but before that, quick look at the scores. Param is back into the top 5. SHR2 has dropped to the 4th spot. NK is into 2nd, and Sam is now in the 3rd spot. All right. Question number 12. Next. The taxation of which item spurred a non-political protest in 1773? The one that actually was the first point of the start of the American Revolutionary War. Asking which item caused the start of a non-political protest, or I would say a non-violent protest, which eventually began the American Revolutionary War. A lot of you got that one. It is indeed the Boston Tea Party. Obviously, Boston back in the day was one of the biggest colonies of British America. It was the big port back in the day as well, where most of the goods that came from all over the world landed. And when the British actually taxed tea, is when they actually started throwing a lot of the tea cartons into the ocean. And that's kind of how the Boston Tea Party started, the protest started, eventually leading obviously to the American Revolutionary War in 1775. So a lot of you are saying, if you've been in Indian school in the CBSE syllabus, you would know this. But I would say even the Americans should be knowing this because it is about their country's history. All right, this is the Boston Tea Party, and tea is what I was looking for. One quick sub question. Where was the tea being imported from those days to Boston? Britain was importing it, but it was not imported from Britain. Indeed, question Suresh, you're right. It was from China that this was being imported to Boston. All right, scores time. Big changes there. NK has now gone into the lead. Sriram's dropped. Param is in 3rd. SHR2 in 4th. And N, you are in the 5th spot with an answer streak of 3. See, China like Trump. I mean, that's the last thing I'll do. All right. Next question. Question number 13 coming up. Under the prime ministership of Fidel Castro, Che Guevara held the portfolio of the Minister of what? The great revolutionary Che, the symbol of communism. Many of you got that one. Industry it is. If you know the history of Che, you probably would know. Health could have been the factor that could take you away, because he was also he was a doctor. He was also someone who was supportive of a lot of medical efforts across. But industry, he was the Minister of Industry under Fidel Castro. What is the movie that came out in 2004 that was about Che's journey?
Motorcycle Diaries.
Indeed, it is a Motorcycle Diaries. So someone's on speaker saying the answer out loud. Great. It is a Motorcycle Diaries and not the Bicycle Diaries. Motorcycle Diaries is the answer I was looking for. I come from Kerala. I come from a college where, every single part of my university, you could have seen a poster of Che and people walking around with t-shirts of Che. So a huge figure from my childhood days. Lal Salam indeed. All right, let's take a look at the scores. SHR2 has gone into the 2nd spot, but NK is maintaining the lead. Sriram, Param, and N completing the top 5. So not too much change in the overall top 5, but some movements just between them. Great. Question 14, the penultimate question of today's history quiz coming up. Apart from Karneya, a local festival, what was the other reason that the Spartans sent only 300 soldiers to fight the Persians? You must have seen the movie. Was it the Olympic Games? Was it the prophecy of Oracle? Was it the bubonic plague? or was it the curse of Zeus? Not the dancer. Only 9 of you got that one, and as I expected, a lot of you went for Oracle's prophecy, but Oracle's prophecy was the other reason, in the sense that Karneya was what Oracle said, right? Oracle said that you cannot be taking part in a war during Karneya, but the bigger reason was that the Olympic Games was happening at that time, and back in ancient Greece, during the Olympic Games, there was something called the truce, or the Olympic truce, which basically meant that everyone agreed to not take part in a war when people were out for for the Olympic Games. So one of the biggest worries back in the day was, if I send my people to play Olympic Games, what if someone actually comes and attacks my city? So there used to be something called an Olympic truce, and hence Olympic Games was going on, and hence it did not feel right to send the soldiers out, the Spartans, under the Spartan law. So Olympic Games, the older Olympic Games, is the answer that I was looking for. I think this question has made a lot of people mad in the chat group, but that's the reality. All right, let's take a look at the scores. Oh, Nimbahulli is back in. N on 4th, Sriram 3rd, SHR2 in 2nd, but NK still maintaining the lead. But everyone is within reach of each other. So if NK, SHR2, Sriram, and N, based on speed, we could have any sort of finish. Quite tight out here. Last question of the day coming up. The French began constructing X, went bankrupt in the process, and lost 22,000 lives as well. But the US finally completed it in 1914. What are we talking about? Many of you got that one. The Panama Canal indeed is the answer that I was looking for, which back in the day was one of the biggest engineering marvels, to be able to open Panama up and to open the route between the Atlantic Ocean and the Pacific Ocean, and for ships to be able to actually pass through, which was huge for world trade back in the day. But the French actually could not manage to do it. Panama Canal is the answer I was looking for. And that's the end of the quiz. This came on YouTube Records recently. Oh, that's great. It was on the History Channel, I remember, someday, and I've seen that, and that's where I got this from. But yeah, let's take a look at the final scores up. In third spot, getting 12 out of 15 is TJ. In the second spot today is N. And the winner for today's quiz is SHR2. All right, NK and Param finished in the 4th and 5th position. Thank you so much for joining, everyone.